Hey there, this is the Resistor Vic podcast. I'm here to get folks thinking about politics as something that's really about regular people like you and me, and to realize that together we can make a difference. I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to The Resistance, and I'm here tonight with Pam Espinoza, Los Animas County, Colorado Democratic Party chairman. And by the way, I am still the vice chairman of that party, and we're going to have a discussion about the parties, why we're Democrats, despite how Bernie was treated by the Democrats, because we are both Bernie supporters. We're going to talk about all that and hopefully convince some people to come back to the party. But before I do that, I want to address a couple of things. One, my episode 13 that dropped last Tuesday was about the gun control debate. And I said in that how what prompted me to finally put those thoughts on video. The reason why I did that episode was because when the Minnesota shooting happened, I was upset that I didn't feel enough about it. And then yesterday we had another school shooting in the same county as the Columbine shooting. One of the things I mentioned in that episode the other day was how they have become so commonplace that sometimes they don't even make the news. And that's really disheartening. And then we had this shooting yesterday, and what happened? It's all being overshadowed by the shooting of a celebrity. So it's very frustrating to me, and I hope that we can refocus. And one of the things that I said in that video is instead of always arguing back and forth about the Second Amendment and gun control and all that stuff, how about we focus on things like living wage and improving our schools and returning our schools to the center of our communities? Because I think if we do that, it's going to do a hell of a lot more than this gun debate has done for the last 40 years. All right, and the other thing I wanted to touch on real quick was Mr. B from my YouTube comments. Sir, I very much appreciate that comment, and I appreciate you being a regular viewer of my videos. I very much do. I totally understand, and so y'all know what I'm talking about. Mr. B, on today's video where I talked about strong men trolling Trump, Mr. B commented that today's not the day for that because this is 9/11. I very much appreciate your thoughts there, Mr. B. And the reason why I respectfully disagree with you about why today's not the day is because I think that 9/11, when it happened, might be the last time this country came together. And the reason we've lost so much of that is embodied by Donald Trump. The division. We couldn't, if that happened again today, we wouldn't come together because we have a president whose first knee-jerk reaction is to blame the other party. I want that America back. And we have to fight every single day to try and get that America back so that we can be united if some big tragedy hits our country again. So again, Mr. B, I respect your thoughts there. And that's why I think it's not that I'm ignoring the commemoration of 9/11. It's just that I don't think we can take a day off. And now I get to address a listener question. On September 9th, I received a question from Charla. I hope I'm saying that right because it's spelled Charla. Could be Carla, I suppose. Anyway, a retired RN. And while I haven't answered it directly until now, her question has been present in the videos that I've been preparing for this week and in last week's podcast. That question was in my head a lot. It influenced all of my work in the last week or so. So Charla asked me for my thoughts on a living wage in this country. In her note, she talked about working several jobs just to make ends meet. about how leisure time felt like a myth, and how hard it is for parents to truly parent their children when 40 hours of work doesn't even cover the basics. Charlotte, you're right. A living wage is critical. Without it, families can break under strain. With it, they can breathe. Without it, parents might be too exhausted to be fully present when they are home, or they're going to be cranky. With it, kids have a better chance to grow up knowing what it means to be cared for and loved. A living wage for me is about hope. Hope that hard work will mean a better life. Hope that parents can raise their kids with dignity. Hope that communities can grow stronger instead of falling apart. And hope that one day, after a lifetime of work, people can actually enjoy retirement. It's so important, it's so foundational, that if I had a magic wand, if somebody came to me and said, Vic, you could change just one policy in this country, I think this might be the one to choose. Because a living wage represents dignity, stability, and possibility, the building blocks for everything else we say we want this country to be. A living wage would also make us harder to divide. When people aren't desperate, it's easier to see each other as neighbors instead of competitors. It's easier to work together when we're not forced to work so hard just for ourselves. With a living wage, we'd be more grounded as a society, steadier, stronger, and less vulnerable to those who profit from keeping us apart. So there you have it, Charlotte. Thank you for the question and for putting into words what so many families are living every day. Now, having said all that, Pam.
Hey, Vic, how you doing?
Pam, there you are.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Resistor Vic podcast. Everybody, this is Pam Espinoza, the chairperson of the Los Animas County Democrats. And as I said, I am the vice chair, and we're going to talk about Democrats. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well.
You see, I wore my Bronco garb for you because Pam, like me, is a huge Broncos fan. She's probably a more hardcore Broncos fan than I am.
Nothing I love more than my Broncos.
All right, except, well, there's one thing I think.
And that's
being a
Democrat.
Democrat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So when I was introducing this episode, I talked about how you and I are both Bernie supporters. Mm-hmm. Why are you a Bernie supporter? Why do you believe in Bernie?
You know, when I really became active in the Democratic Party, I had just started to find my footing in the labor movement. And that is where my affinity, my love for the Democratic Party comes from. It's because I started in labor. And Bernie is such a huge supporter of labor. And when Bernie decided to run in 2016, he immediately reached out to labor unions and started talking about the things that are not only important to labor unions, but the things that should be important to all of us as working families. Decent wages, the ability to have safety and respect at work, the ability to have good jobs that allow us to care for our families. There is nothing wrong with saying I need to earn a living wage, and that needs to be enough to cover what I need, to cover what my family needs, and to have enough money for fun. There's
sounds like you're describing
that.
It sounds like you're describing an FDR Democrat.
Yeah, really. I mean, because that's really and truly where I think the majority of Americans are. And at that time, Bernie, that's really what Bernie was saying, is that America does best when we move from the middle out, and not really the middle out, the middle up. And that's where our country was built.
And for my part, I knew of Bernie, and I admired him before he ran. And when he announced that he was going to run, I went and I did my homework on him to make sure he was what I thought he was. And the thing that impressed me the most was the things that, if you go to a Bernie rally today, you're going to hear what he was talking about 40 years ago when he was a young man. And that is so rare in today's politics, to have somebody who, one, is saying the right stuff, and two, is consistently saying the right stuff time after time. Now, this episode isn't about Bernie Sanders. The reason I was bringing up Bernie is because what's one of the reasons you get for why independents and the local indivisible folks and stuff like that, what's one of the reasons you get for why they don't want to join the party?
One of the reasons that I often get related to Bernie Sanders is that they are upset with the way that the 2016 election was handled. There are a lot of individuals who feel that the Democratic parties, both at state and local levels, really...
You mean state and federal?
State and federal. Thank you. Well, I guess I should say this. I guess I should say local, state, and federal. Because certainly what happened at the state level trickled down to local parties. And anybody who thinks that there isn't a strong connection and at times push down from the state party to the local party, you're kidding yourself if you think that doesn't happen. It does.
And I would submit that depends on the local Democrats and whether or not they are holding their local Democratic Party leaders accountable. Because I
would agree. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are upset with the way that the primary was handled. And the bottom line is that we really had two strong candidates come out of the 2016 primary process. We had Hillary Clinton, we had Bernie Sanders. Bernie at the time was really stepping into prominence on the national stage. And he was saying all the things that I think working families needed to hear. Because let's be honest, okay, I'm just keeping it real here. Barack Obama was not the most progressive president we've ever had. Shocker.
Yeah.
In fact, he was anchored pretty closely to the middle. And I really think that working families, that middle America was longing for what Bernie was giving us. And that was not the same as what was coming from the Clinton camp. But it was very clear that the Democratic National Committee wanted Hillary Clinton to be the nominee. I don't think there was any question about that. And so I know that a lot of people are angry. They feel that Bernie earned the nomination. They feel that the party skewed the election process so that Bernie didn't get a fair shake, and people are angry. They distrust the party.
And I was right there. I was so angry about that, that after she got the nomination, I left the party for a while. I was like,
you and a lot
I
of
don't belong
others
in this club, because the National Party is not supporting the working class values that I believe in, and I left. But my point is, I felt what so many other people felt, and I left the Democratic Party for a while. And then I came back. And then 4 years later, I left it again. It wasn't about Bernie that time. It was about Bernie and Andrew Romanoff and a guy named Jonathan Singer up in Boulder County in Longmont. And at every level, I was seeing the party kick to the curb working class Democrats who had great records of representing working class people and not the special interests. And I said, well, I don't belong in that group. And then what brought me back? When the Republicans nominated Donald Trump and then America elected Donald Trump, then I said to myself, there's only one thing that can defeat Donald Trump in the next election, and that's the Democratic Party. It's got the infrastructure. If you're a Democratic nominee, you can get on the ballot in all 50 states. It's got the communication structure. It's got all of the mechanical pieces that you need to defeat Donald Trump. And I am definitely not happy with the party. You saw the video I did, I don't know, a week or two ago when the DNC, in my view, screwed over the DNC delegates who wanted to put forth Proposition 18, it would have said that we support a Palestinian state and we want to stop sending American tax dollars in the form of weapons and munitions and stuff to Israel. And they played some games with that, and they defeated it. And now on Tuesday, they said that there was a glitch in the program that they used for voting, so they had to pull the ballot. And then on Wednesday, they killed it in a resolutions committee instead of letting everybody vote on it like they were allegedly going to do on Tuesday. So when that happened, I was so fired up. I did a video and I said, if Ken Martin is still the chair a week from then, I was going to leave the party again. And I've been seriously struggling with it. I called up Pam last night and I'm like, Pam, I am seriously struggling with whether or not to stay in the party. So I totally get where so many people are coming from about not having faith in the party. But what do you tell me about people who want to leave the Democratic Party when they're angry at Ken Martin or our state party chair or their state party chair, whatever? What do you say to people?
The first thing that I would tell people is that your local party is not Ken Martin. I can tell you, I'm chair of a whole bunch of things, and I've never met Ken Martin. And that your local party needs you. And I say that to Vic because I know he's struggling with it. So I'm telling you this. Your local party needs you, Vic, both specifically and also as a general rule. When people say I'm going to leave the party because I'm upset about what happened with Bernie, or I'm upset because we have not been as vocal as we need to be about the support of a free and independent Palestine. And I understand there are two sides to that issue. It's a polarizing issue. Or when there are shenanigans. And the Democrats, let's just be honest here again, the Democrats pull shenanigans at times. And people get upset. But when they leave the party, it's the local party that suffers. And the local party suffers for a lot of different reasons. And the thing is that I can't remember who was it that said that all politics are local. And so when somebody decides to leave the party with Tip O'Neill? Oh, yep. Wow. That's bad.
I got the book.
You know, it's when somebody decides to leave the party, it's the local party that suffers. And I don't think that people realize that.
And I would add to that those of us who are super, super frustrated with the party, those of us who had hope and belief in Ken Martin and are now just beyond frustrated, those of us who look at Chuck Schumer and wonder if he's going to issue another strongly worded letter, if we want to change that, if we want to get the super powerful lobby groups out of the DNC, if we want to elect people who will do more than issue a strongly worded letter, or Democrats who won't support the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City, if we want to change all of that, we can't do it from the sidelines. We have to be in the party and involved with the party. That is the one thing that is keeping me. That the comments from a lot of the comments in that video I just mentioned, things that you've said, Pam, those are the things, the only things that are still keeping me in the Democratic Party, because I haven't totally given up on changing it, but it's got to happen from the ground up. And if you're watching this or listening to it, because a lot of people don't see it, they only hear it, you got to get involved in your local party. You got to show up at the meetings. You got to give them your voice, and you've got to press your local party leaders not to listen to the state party. The point is to show up and say, there's 50, 100, 10, 5, whatever, however many. And this county is telling the state party that this is what we want. And you got to band together with other local parties in other counties that are doing the same thing. If we can do that, that is entirely possible. It's not even a pipe dream. It's just a matter, because it doesn't cost anything to do that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't cost anything. And here's the thing: the first thing that people have to do, and yes, I'm wearing my Kamala Harris shirt. When we fight, we win, because I think that's an important message and an important way to fight back against the overwhelming corporatization of the party, about the lack of a real grassroots movement, is to fight back. And the way that you fight back is to show up. I can guarantee you that if I got 50 people at a Los Animas County Democrats meeting, hint, hint, folks, third Wednesday of the month, 6:00, Miners Memorial. If I get 50 people there, all talking about the fact that the DNC should have voted on the resolution on Gaza, I can guarantee you that our state party is going to sit up and say, something's going on in Los Animas County. I guarantee you that if I called any of our DNC representatives, which we elect, okay, they're elected by the delegates to our state caucus, our state convention.
Our state assembly.
Yeah. It's called the convention, though, because it occurs in the presidential year. But that's technically what it calls. But yeah, it's a state assembly, and our local party sends delegates there. And reason why we only get 2 delegates in Los Animas County is because we don't have a lot of involvement. The more involvement we get, the more delegates we get. And then you have your opportunity to elect people who believe in the same type of power of a grassroots movement that you do.
And that's how it works in all the state parties, right?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
So, because we're talking, you and I are both in the Los Animas County Democratic Party, but we could be in Husker County, Nebraska, and it's going to work the same. I don't know if they have a Husker County, but you get it.
Yeah.
That it would work that way too. So no matter where you're at, if you're hearing this, or you need an argument to try and convince your neighbor, your friend, your relative to get active, Pam just gave you the reason, because there is nobody more upset with the Democratic Party than me. You may be as upset, but you're not more upset than I am with the Democratic Party. And again, I'm sticking with it, at least for now. As long as Pam can keep talking me off the ledge, I'm sticking with it. Gladly. Because I still know it's the only vehicle we have to defeat Trump.
And it really is. I mean, it really is a great vehicle. So one of the things that the Democratic Party offers candidates, and, the bottom line is that in the world we live in, with the House and the Senate the way that they are, and with whatever is going on in the White House, in the clown car that is the Oval Office right now, the only way we fix that is by winning elections. And the Democratic Party's logistical structure for getting out the vote is absolutely second to none. I mean, the Republicans have nothing like it. And the more that connection is reinforced, the more that ability is reinforced with local Democrats, the more that they want to get involved. Because the bottom line is nobody wants to play on a losing team. It's the bottom line. And it's hard to get people to join when you're getting kicked in the teeth.
Yeah. And I would add to that your dollar, if I got $5, an extra $5, and I want to donate it, if I donate it to the National Party, they're going to do whatever the hell they want with it. If I donate it to the state party, they're going to do whatever the hell they want with it. But if I donate it to my local party, it's going to go a whole lot further. $5 means something to a local party, at least in a small community like ours, it does.
And you're going to have a say in what that $5 does. Because if you go to your local meeting, I guarantee you everybody will be absolutely overwhelmingly happy to see you there. And I will tell you, you will have a say as to how those funds are used. The funds that are collected by local parties stay local. All of it stays local. And so that means these are the dollars that pay for newspaper ads and radio ads and outreach events and literature and the things that drive your local elections. I firmly believe that elections are won from the bottom up, not the top down. I think that if you get people enthusiastic about the local county clerk's race, you can tell which one I'm focused on for next year. Yeah. Or you get people excited about the local county commissioner's race or the mayor's race, and they get out to vote for the people they know with the offices that directly impact their lives, then they're going to stay to vote for the candidates for CD3 and the candidates for Senate and the candidates for governor. I think that if you get them enthused about the races that impact them the most, then they will stay and vote for the races on a state, on a national level. And that's how you get out the vote.
When I push the record button on my side of the screen, it plays my intro and I can hear it. Were you able to hear it?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Did you hear the part where I said one of the goals of this podcast is to show people that, I don't remember exactly how I phrase it, but basically politics is about regular people more than it is what you see on TV. It's not the West Wing. It's not any of the movies or TV shows that you've seen about politics. And even with the national politics and the big name candidates, yeah, they're going to have guys in three-piece suits running around all the time on their campaign. But they're also going to have a whole bunch of people in jeans and tennis sneakers and just regular, average, run-of-the-mill Main Street Americans. And in a county party like ours, and in the candidates that we're going to be helping trying to get elected, it's all of that. It's just regular people that drive a local party and that drive, I would say, 95% of the political campaigns that are out there.
Not just they don't only drive the political campaigns, but they drive the things that happen after that. And I will put a plug in here because obviously I am absolutely focused. I've been focused on our local county clerk's race. And my belief is that county clerks are better off as Democrats. Just saying. And because counting the votes matters. And we have to know that the votes are counted correctly. We have to know that they're counted accurately. And in a party that glorifies the Tina Peters of the world and that have spent the past 4 years perpetuating the lie that an election was stolen in 2020, we need county clerks with integrity. And
I believe that the two most important offices in the 2026 elections, the two most important offices are your county clerk and your sheriff, because your county clerk is the one who's going to make sure that votes are counted for both sides. And I've never heard of a Democratic county clerk inviting people in and giving them false IDs. That we're talking about Tina Peters now, who was in a MAGA county. Mm-hmm. There was no way that there was going to be any chance of Trump losing that county. And she still engaged in voter fraud to a highly felonious level. Mm-hmm. And she's a Republican. I've never heard, and I'm sure maybe it happened, you can say, well, what about them Southern Democrats back in the 40s? Yeah. You know what? Back then, there were times when the Democratic Party was just as bad. Chicago was famous for it for decades. generations. But in this day and age, we've got the county clerks are one of our firewalls for democracy, in my opinion. And the other most important race is the sheriffs, because the sheriff, I want to know when we start seeing the candidates come out for sheriff next year, I want to ask them publicly, when ICE comes to town, when the Gestapo comes to town, will you be standing up for the citizens of Los Animas County? Or will you be capitulating to the tyranny of the Trump administration?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's why those are the two most important races in my mind. I mean, if I had to choose between having a local sheriff over a Democrat in our currently Republican U.S. House seat, if I had to choose between one of those two, I'm going to choose the Democrat sheriff. Mm-hmm. Now, I think we're going to win the House seat with Keloff. I think he's assuming that is there anybody else running yet?
At this point, I've heard that somebody expressed an intent to run, but that there isn't a federal filing yet. And you're not considered an official candidate until you have that federal filing. So apologies if this is wrong. Vic, I'm going to agree with you about the county clerk. County clerks are not just a safe wall to the vote. They're the road to the vote. When the Secretary of State's office needs to allocate more resources, in other words, updated counting machines, ballot drop boxes, individuals who work the election as election judges, when the Secretary of State allocates resources, they do so upon the request of the county clerks. So if you have, and we know that there's differences between how Democrats vote and when Democrats vote, and how Republicans vote and when they vote. So if you have a county clerk who is MAGA and who doesn't want a lot of drop boxes, or who doesn't want extra hours, so that way people who are working can make it to the polls, or don't want to have voting places in places that are accessible, that really can drive down the vote.
A county clerk should be somebody who wants people to vote, not somebody who wants to limit how many people vote.
Exactly. The other issue is that I did not realize this. I've gotten a real education. I would think a county commissioner's position is pretty important as well, because county commissioners is the direct conduit to state level offices that directly impact county policy. When it came time to figure out the budget for the county, and was there additional money we needed for the state, and did we need resources for things like road and bridge and social services and election monies and things like that, your county commissioners are the people who talk about the county and what the priorities of the county are at a state level. And frankly, I would love to have a county commissioner, finally, whose values reflect my own. And I think that is really the crux of why I'm telling people you need to get out to your local counties, or your local parties rather, because your local party is where you can express your values and have a reasonable expectation that the group of people that you're with are going to reflect those views back to you.
The Republicans have spent literally decades building their party by getting school board members elected and county commissioners elected and county clerks elected. And we've got to do that too. Right now, that's one of my frustrations with Ken Martin, who said we were going to be a 50-state party. One of my frustrations with our state party is that we are not, and I've got to give credit where credit's due. Our state party chair is doing a slightly better job than I thought he would. There are some outreach things that I do appreciate. But anyway, the point is, the Republicans have been doing it for generations, and we've got to start doing it now. We can't do it if there's nobody showing up to participate in the local Democratic Party. And since you brought up our local county clerk, I've got to relate. The first time I met Carrie Apple was well before the election that she got elected in. I went down to the clerks for something, and she was very helpful. I really liked her. She seemed like a really nice person. And then when she was campaigning, I asked her publicly on her campaign Facebook page many, many times, was the 2020 election legitimate? I don't remember exactly how I asked her. Was it stolen? Did Joe Biden win the election? Whatever. And she would never answer. And a county clerk who cannot recognize a duly elected president, the votes were counted, Trump's own Homeland Security and all of his legal departments, his AG, they all said there was no fraud. It was one of the most secure election, the most secure election in American history. And my local county clerk candidate, Republican county clerk candidate, would not admit that Joe Biden won the election. Think about that. What does that say about the next election if that person wins? And she did win. And I have to wonder, especially based on rumors that I'm not going to repeat because I can't back it up if they're just rumors. What does that say about the last year's election in Los Animas County? Can I trust it? If I can't trust my county clerk to say this person won this election when we all know he did, then how can I trust that county clerk to count my ballot the same way that she counts her Republican friends' ballots?
I think that's a valid concern, and one that I share with you. And that once again highlights something that you do through your local party, is that the local party is where the county clerk gets election judges. That's how you sign up to be an election judge. You show up at your county caucus, at your precinct caucus, and you sign up as an election judge. And I'm not telling you something that came from the Democratic Party. I'm telling you something that is in Colorado law. It's in statute. In fact, it's in the very first statute in the
Election
Colorado
statute.
Revised Statute. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that we deal with are elections. And so you show up at your caucus and you say, I want to be an election judge. And from that point on, you are on the list to be an election judge. Now, it is still up to the clerk as to who she hires, but that's where election judges come from. And if you need more, the clerk is going to go to the local party and say, I need more election judges. So then your county party chair is going to say, hey, I need more election judges. Does anybody want to do this? In addition to that, your local party is where poll watchers come from. What better way to get trust in the system? What better way to literally stand there and watch what's going on, to sit there and to safeguard against shenanigans than to be a poll watcher and to watch what's going on and to see how the process works? And I will tell you, the Colorado process for mail-in ballots, which I understand all county clerks are supposed to follow, is absolutely second to none. And the way that you get that access is through your local party. And here's what I am cognizant of within the Democratic Party as a leader in the party. The party is cognizant of the fact that increasingly more and more people who are progressive, who are liberals, are leaving the party and becoming independent because they feel that the Democratic Party doesn't reflect their values.
Union members.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why I jumped on the Bernie train to begin with. But what I will tell you is that same grassroots thought, the same thought about what goes on in your local Social Security office, what goes on with ICE, as we're seeing this now play out in Warfano County, the way that you have a voice in that is through your local party. I guarantee you that if 40, 50 people from the Los Animas County Democrats all got together and decided to drive to Pueblo to talk to our congressional representatives. Chances are we wouldn't find Jeff Hurd because he's an urban myth. I really thought that until I saw him at the fair.
I saw his picture once.
Yeah, I likened him to Bigfoot. I said everybody talks about him and everybody thinks they've seen him, but nobody really has. And if the party all got together and showed up, that would make Jeff Hurd sit up and take notice. He'd sit up and take notice. We wouldn't see him doing that, but he would. But even more importantly, the people who would definitely sit up and take notice are Michael Bennett and John Hickenlooper. I'm not particularly pleased with either one of our senators, but I also realize that the only way that they're going to know that I am displeased is if I tell them that.
Right.
And I call regularly to the point of where their office says, "Hey, Pam, how you doing this week? You know, what's wrong now?"
And they're going to care more when a Democrat calls. They shouldn't care who's calling. It should be a constituent called. But a constituent that calls that is also in the party, whose vote they're going to want in a primary, does carry a little more weight.
It does, especially because, you know, in the political environment we're in, you know, there's a decent chance they're going to get that Democrat vote. Here's the thing, though. My voice is amplified. If I call and I say, "I'm Pam Espinoza, I'm calling on behalf of the Los Animas County Democrats. I had 50 people at my meeting last night," or "I had 30 people at my meeting last night, and all of them said that the big, beautiful bill, the great, big, ugly, no good, terrible, horrible, very bad bill, should not be passed, and you need to vote against it." That carries weight. So when we are together at our local parties, we amplify one another's voices.
All right, we've got to shift gears because
okay.
the clock is running faster than I thought it would, which I knew it was going to. I knew we wouldn't be able to have a short conversation, so lots of editing for me. Let's shift into talk to the progressives and the independents, the far left. Well, I can't say that because I consider myself far left. Mm-hmm. The people who are independent voters who are not willing as of yet to come into the party. What's your message to them? What's our message to them?
The first thing that I would say is baby steps. The elections that we have coming up this November and next November are not going to be about Republican and Democrat. They're going to be about what's right and what's wrong. Do you believe in our democracy, or are you willing to let fascism take over? Are you willing to stand up and say that our vote matters, or are you willing to possibly lose it in 2028? And yes, we are there. So if our values reflect yours, then come and join us, because we're all on the same team. Our party can't be a good reflection of its community if we don't know what the values of the community are. So come and talk to us. Come to our meeting. Tell us what's important to you. And find out what your local party does. And I'm pretty confident that when you find that out, it's going to be something you want to be a part of. And here's the thing. And if you have a party that doesn't reflect what you want it to be, then make it what you want it to be. It's yours. And if you really want to prove your point, bring 10 of your friends with you. There's strength in numbers too.
Whether you're in Los Animas County, Colorado, or, like I said before, Husker County, Nebraska, no matter where you're at, if you're an independent voter and you are hearing this or watching this, my message to you is you are invited. We are inviting you to come and make a difference with us. We're inviting you to come and change us. Help us get our party back to the Main Street American party that it used to be.
I would add one thing to that. Do not believe that we are the underdogs. When you just look at Independents, Republicans, Democrats. In our county, the two biggest groups are independents and Democrats out of the three groups. That means 2/3 of the people who are here in our community do not believe in the values that are espoused by the Republican Party.
And yet
that's
they're
what
winning.
it's about. And yet they're winning. So what we need to do is we need to hold on to those shared values. I would expand, you're not only invited, you are wanted, you are needed. We absolutely need your voice. We absolutely need your voice, your point of view, in order to make our party thrive.
I think that is the best place to end the conversation for tonight.
Okay.
Not just because we're going on an hour.
Which we knew.
Yeah.
Which we knew.
Pam, thanks for joining me. And I hope if you watched or listened, I hope we gave you a sense, at least a little bit, of how important regular Main Street Americans are to the political process. And I hope you'll join us. Until next week, thank you for giving me your time, making me a part of your morning or afternoon or wherever it is in the day that you listen to this. Good day. Well, folks, looks like we're back at the barn and it's time to call it a day. I sure do appreciate you spending your time with me. If you want to help keep this podcast going by supporting me, you can get a paid subscription on Substack, where I'm Resistor Vic. Or if you're the type that'd rather go to PayPal, I'm also resistorvic@gmail.com. Thanks again.